My guest today is Peter Goodwin. Peter is the CEO and co-founder at Ideal. Ideal, of course, combines, generative AI and real-time validation to help anyone go from idea to funded startup. We'll learn all about this today and how it works. But welcome to the show, Peter.
Thanks, Andy. Great to be here.
Great to have you here, Peter. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It would be super cool if you could, please introduce yourself. Would love to hear some of your personal and professional backstory. What have you been doing in the lead up to co-founding Ideal?
Sure thing, yeah. So, as you said, my name's Peter. I'm the CEO and founder of Ideal. I have been developing and building companies for the last kind of 20 odd years of my life, which is most of it, to be honest. I am based here in Dubai. We're building this startup here in the Middle East. I've done a range of different things. My main profession or my main focus has been in brand and marketing initially over time. I've also worked in the fine art industry extensively. Multiple projects here in Dubai. I've been here over 10 years, building things for others, but also working on kind of big government projects out here. So I've done a range of different things, Andy, in my time.
Excellent. It's the best way to go about things, I reckon, Peter, and I'm sure it has set you up to, do what you're doing now. So I guess the best place to begin with what you're doing now at Ideal, Peter, is, maybe just give us the high level vision statement summary, kind of what Ideal is, and then we can get into it.
Sure thing. So Ideal is a co-founder and VC in your pocket. It's essentially a platform that takes your idea from conception or inception to live, hence the idea live. It helps all dimensions of that process. It starts at the beginning with a feasibility. So it uses a pretty powerful proprietary AI that we're building to assess your idea in a number of dimensions. And then it helps you launch, and it acts as a co-founder. So it's highly effective at being a partner to you 24 hours a day to get your idea to the launch stage. And we all know a fundamental part of that is funding. So we're building a decentralized fund to fund the best ideas in that process.
And I guess it'd be useful, Peter, you can kind of, it's fairly obvious what the problems are with, I guess, for want of a better word, startups, or taking your idea from, an idea into, reality. The 0 to 1 part is extremely difficult, of course, but maybe just from your perspective, talk through sort of what some of the problems are, and then, how Ideal proposes to solve them.
Yeah, sure thing. So I think the one place to start might be why we're kind of doing it. And this has come from pretty extreme personal frustration on my part, in that I've spent most of my life building things, and I had plenty of ideas racking up that I hadn't built, that I'd got nowhere with. And this was me kind of being quite self-deprecating and beating myself up that I should have done more in the time that I had to make these things real. So I started looking for a platform to be my co-founder. And this is in the main drive of when OpenAI was building ChatGPT, it became public. All the other AI models are coming in behind. People are using them, finding them pretty straightforward to get results from, and they're improving week on week, month on month. So for me, it felt like there had to be something out there. And this is around 18 months ago. I couldn't find it. I could not find a single platform that would help me launch. And I didn't want to invest in multiple teams and multiple platforms to do this. And I felt like this was something that other people might be facing as well. So this was as a, third, fourth, fifth time founder wanting a co-pilot essentially to help me launch in a kind of MVP style, but with more kind of intelligence behind it. So that's where this came from. It was a kind of a personal frustration. And as I started to delve into the psychology behind what it takes to be an entrepreneur, I kind of went, in being in marketing, if you don't understand psychology, you aren't really effective. So for me, it was, how does this work for everybody? How does everyone approach this? And we started to realize there are 7 core reasons why people don't launch. And all of these reasons can come up at any point in the process. And a lot of it comes around, kind of the psychological element of what it takes to drive something over the line. And this is obviously the persistence part, and the grit and the not giving up. element. And you can be derailed in that psychology of pushing through every single day if you don't have the support mechanisms behind you. And these are varied, right? There's so many different dimensions to that, not least of which is having knowledge, knowing what it is you're kind of getting into. And if you're building in a space you've never been before, then you don't know. And that's incredibly difficult for people to face every single day. Getting that knowledge from online is pretty straightforward. But what you actually want is someone who's done it before, right? You effectively want a co-founder. You want somebody who goes, I'll take care of that. I've done that. You don't need to worry about it. Well, they at least allay your fears about the next steps. But most people don't have that. Finding an effective co-founder or co-founder failure is actually one of the core reasons why startups don't work in the first place. So that kind of helps your psychology. But if you don't have that, then you're isolated. You're alone. And it's a pretty lonely endeavor, kind of building something that you believe in, that most other people you tell are unlikely to, have the same enthusiasm or drive as you do. And then on top of that, you have other things in your periphery around, kind of support resources. Resources obviously being money. If you don't have funding, you need seed funding of your own at the very beginning, because no one's just going to give you money overnight unless you have a proven track record. So you've got to find that. You've got to find the time. Most people are working full time, or they have something else going on. So they have to allocate that, as well as your kind of personal life and your family and everything else that goes with it. On top of that, you need to have a very clear focus. You need to have a goal. And a lot of people will enter into a launch of an idea without that idea being crystallized and locked in as being something fundamental. So they'll start deviating and going wide as they start to build, and not stay absolutely rigidly focused on the idea and they've first pinned their mind on. So these are all kind of things that come in. Timing is critical. Certainly at the moment, I mean, Andy, you'll know this, things are changing every week. The ability to build, anything in the tech space is getting far more feasible by the week. Things that were difficult in terms of integrations, running things on different types of hardware it's pretty crazy. So if your timing is off, certainly now more than ever, then that can create a huge headache where you invest a lot, and that's not quite right. So there's all these different elements, and we put them into a matrix, and we're basically building our product to mitigate every single one of these things. So yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, absolutely fascinating. So I will definitely come back to the AI stuff and of course Web3. So I wanted to jump into that. But yeah, you talk about, I think on the website you talk about like psychological, financial, technical, and systemic blockers. So I guess that's kind of what you're talking about as well. They're all just, there's so many different hurdles for founders, really, aren't there? It's just it can be a maze of complexity to try and navigate, as you said, by yourself, right?
Yes, and the thing we're discovering is this interesting demographic element as well, to the way that people approach being an entrepreneur or founding. Younger generations aren't looking for a career. They're not coming into the world thinking, I'm going to, specialize in one area, get a job, work my way up and become as high as I can in that company. Being an entrepreneur is natural to younger generations because of their exposure to knowledge and technology. There is a belief that they can build and do things on their own. They have a clear understanding of how to do that as well, because they're born into the space that allows it. And it's more facilitative than it ever has been to test and fail constantly. Depending on your generational outlook, some people feel younger than they are or have been more involved in a space than they perhaps others in their generation. We all look at things slightly differently, and there's a disadvantage in that environment when you just exist in the tech space, where you don't have real world understanding. So perhaps your network isn't effectively real people. Your network is through social media. It might even be wholly people you've never met before. And that kind of reliability and trust isn't there. And without that network, you're also going to struggle in the world of business, in the world of getting things done. So it's pretty interesting to look at how different generations have advantages. Also from a geographical perspective, the world is getting more connected. It has been over the last 20, 30 years, of course. But today things happen at lightning speed. And we're in a place where there is, due to technological advances, a much better chance of success being somewhere in the world that was more remote than before. So we're seeing that is also empowering people in a different way. And the interesting thing about predicting the future, there's no denying that obviously AI and future technologies are going to make a series of individuals kind of redundant in their roles, and they're going to have to diversify. And this is one of the things that underpins what we're building, is that the premise that people used to be able to move sideways or move upwards in a role, but that's going to be very difficult now. If you're an admin in a law firm, you might, potentially lose your role and have the option to go become a paralegal or become an admin in another industry. But admins are going to struggle moving forward. Coders are going to struggle moving forward. Designers are going to struggle. So they need to diversify into doing something completely different. They need to build their own thing. And becoming an entrepreneur, we think, may well become not optional. It might be that people just have to do this going forward.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation, Peter. I think you're probably exactly right. You're going to need to be very nimble in the world ahead. And of course, it's almost a cliche to say already, but one of the most important skills you can teach kids at school now is just the ability to learn new skills and just kind of jump from one thing to the other. As you said, you can't get stuck in one mindset or think you're going to do one career, because it's just unpredictable what would happen. But so, well, based on said we'd talk about AI and Web3. So whichever order you want to do it, but I know there's a token, so we'll get to that as well. Maybe just talk about how you see AI fitting into what you guys are doing at Ideal.
Yeah, sure. So I think the interesting thing is that obviously people like to put a company or an entity or a brand in a space and say you are a tech company, or you are this, or this is what you do. I think fundamentally for me, we are a tech company because we have to be, to enable people. So without the technology, there's no way we can do this. To date, anybody that is funding or supporting an entrepreneur is going to be an accelerator, a specialist arm of a VC. There's loads of programs out there that exist. There's government entities that do this, but a lot of it's kind of manual work. And we've met a lot of these, and they do have some screening processes, and they are relying on technology. But for us to be standalone as an app in your pocket without AI, we literally can't do this. Ideal doesn't exist without AI because of the heavy lift we're trying to, provide. So for us, it's a core component of our offer. And then we want to make sure that we're democratizing that access, and want to make sure that we can fund anyone with any idea anywhere in the world. That's our kind of plan. And we can't do that without Web3. We can't do it without crypto, because there is a number of different hoops you have to jump through from a funding standpoint. But not only that, we need to do it fast. Speed is absolutely key to the way that we're supporting people. Exactly as you said, Andy, not least, if you don't do something quickly, you're not going to understand whether it fails or works. You have a first mover advantage, but you may need to, kind of learn and relearn pretty quickly as you go. And off the back of that, the confluence of those two technologies, both of them are about speed of getting things done, speed of building, speed of learning, but also speed of funding. And obviously that's the biggest advantage of crypto, is how fast it moves. So for us, it's bringing those two things together. The AI negates all the challenges that people face, and speeds everything up to pretty extreme degrees. And then the Web3 allows us to build in a space that is democratic, allows people to be part of what we're doing as a community, but it also means we can fund people super quickly.
Yeah, very well said. All right. Well, Web3, of course, part of this as well. Specifically, there's a token. I believe it's called the GovToken. So, just walk us through the purpose, utility, and of the GovToken.
Yeah. So this is our first token launch. This for us is specific to how we are going to govern the fund that we're building. That's going to fund the top X% of ideas. As a governance token, it's going to be part of a DAO. And for us, the application of that DAO is the basic rudimentaries of how a venture capital fund might work, kind of in the real world. but it's controlled by the DAO. It's controlled by the community. So decisions around how people are funded, where we fund individuals, what kind of ideas we're focusing on, are all going to be managed by the community in that DAO. So we're super keen to kind of flip the VC model on its head in terms of making it transparent, accessible. We also want to be in a position where anyone can participate. So we're not going to be setting thresholds that are particularly high for this. And it's something that allows us the speed and mobility when it comes to how we engage with our community and how we can track and change and pivot as well over time. So yeah, this is something we're going to be kind of announcing very soon, the kind of date for this. We've been kind of operating in stealth mode for a good 12 months before we pushed live earlier this year. And it's going to coincide with our first kind of product in a few weeks' time.
And for people that want to, find out more about the token, get involved, buy the token, what's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, so we've got a number of different communities. Obviously, we're kind of engaged on Telegram and Discord. That's where most of the conversations are happening right now. The way to kind of funnel into where you want to be is to go to our website. So it's idea-l.com. And then it kind of gives you a bit more info on us, the white papers on there, to give you a lot more kind of technical background on what we're ttrying to build. And then, joining the communities is the key. We're going to be making announcements very soon. So, yeah.
Awesome. And just in terms of, the ideas that people have, the ideas that founders have that, they have a dream, they want to get started, get funded, take their idea to the world. I'm sure there's countless ideas, Peter, but just any kind of examples of things you can think of that people are potentially looking at, engaging with your platform and looking to bring to market.
Yeah, so the interesting thing for us is that being in the tech space, a lot of people think we are only enabling tech ideas. So they think that, anyone that comes from the Web3 space thinks that we're just working with Web3 projects. And people in the AI space think that we're only working with, entrepreneurs in the AI space or building platforms. I don't see it that way at all. I mean, for us, Ideal is built for anybody with any idea anywhere in the world. So if somebody wants to knit sweaters and sell them on the side on eBay, but doesn't understand marketing or doesn't understand brand, they can use Ideal to launch that side hustle effectively. If you want to open a cafe, if you want to, open a bed and breakfast, if you want to improve the way that you engage people on Airbnb with, properties, it literally is anything that people want to do as an idea. And we're actually actively encouraging real world ideas. We don't want people to disappear into the tech space and just be building remotely for people. We still have things we need to use on a daily basis. We're still human. So for us, we want to see innovation across the board. For sure, the initial ideas that are coming through are kind of AIification of most things. People think, a certain type of drone that does this, that's specific to this, transportation that's improved by this, headphones that have AI chips in that do different things and, are more advanced. Those are the kind of things that are coming through. I think some of that's audience related. We seem to have a younger audience that's engaging with us initially. But we think there's an entrepreneur inside anybody, and it doesn't matter the kind of age group. And it's the left field ideas. And I've got to say that when ideas is your thing, everyone kind of tells you their idea. So that the thing that is happening to me a lot in my social circles and networking or whatever, you tell people you're doing Ideal, and they're like, oh yeah, I've had this idea for 3, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. I've never done anything with it. What do you think? As if I'm an idea expert. And look, fundamentally, yes, I can assess whether I think it's good or not. But the history shows that the outliers are the ones that really are extreme successes. They're people that see a gap or see a space that no one else is seeing. And it's quite hard for us to get our AI to validate that, right? So we talk about the art and science of an idea, and we put quite a lot of weight on the art of an idea. Fundamentally, the actual, the difference, the sprinkles on top, the essence of it that's a bit different from other things. And also the simple ideas are the easiest ones to execute as well. When they get into layers of complexity, there are difficulties. But it's such a recipe. It really is such a recipe because the founder's profile, what they're like as a person, their character, what they've done before, what they've been exposed to, makes a huge difference. So you can talk to somebody about their idea specifically, and it can look good on paper, but it genuinely is, it's 1% inspiration, 99% execution for sure. So idea dynamics is something I can talk about for a long time. So yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, look, as we start to finish up this part of the podcast, Peter, what are the kind of the next steps? What's kind of next on the product path, if you like? What are the big challenges that are in front of you that keep you up at night? What's what's next on the ideal journey?
So the next thing for us is to get a product out, and that's been cooking for a while. And we have actually 3 phases of product release before the end of the year. So the first thing for us is something we're calling fast feasibility. This is a lightning quick feasibility test. Any idea that's 100 characters or more, we can produce a very quick report for you as to whether you should start venturing into it and start building on it. And then we have a live feasibility that's a much more comprehensive Q&A with a founder, and it's really assessing their personality, assessing their experience, but also going into a lot more detail about the idea. So these are both kind of native apps that are being pushed out in the next couple of months. And then we're actually going to be building what we call our idea realization platform. And that's the first stage co-founder in your pocket. And that's going to be launched before the end of this year. So that's a particular focus for us, is getting those products out. My number one metric is how many people we've helped. And at the moment, we're kind of, on the sides helping individuals that are coming to us directly. I really want to get these platforms out to have an impact on different people. So that's kind of the thing that I'm focused on. But this, Andy, there are 100 things a day that have to be dealt with and pushed forward. And I think that this is why I joke about with my co-founders, is that we're living every single day what we expect entrepreneurs to go through. The raise that we did earlier this year, we got far more no's than yeses when it came to funding us. Made us laugh every time we got a no, because that's the thing we don't want entrepreneurs to be facing in the future, is having too many no's, and also building it itself, building a team around it. But I feel lucky, I feel lucky to be doing this and being on this journey, particularly because it's a very exciting place to be, dealing with the kind of ideas economy, as it were. So it's it's very, very varied. The thing that keeps me up the most is done and not done. Most of my life is a pile of not done things. I'm constantly trying to move into the done pile, and that's how I try and move things forward. So, we have a lot to do still, and we're kind of accumulating a bunch of different things as we go. And I think that some people are affected by the progress of technology, AI, trying to keep up with it. All these different platforms that exist, all these different communities to manage. This doesn't particularly bother me. I think that we're pretty focused on what we want to achieve. We're pretty clear on how we want to do it. And I would say the one advantage I have is learning marketing. Marketing has been some big part of my domain for the last few years, and it's a pretty hard place to be. And I'm actually quite glad I came from that perspective rather than technology initially. So that's kind of our roadmap, and quite simply what keeps me up at night is just getting things done. So
I like it. All right. Well, as we finish up this part of the podcast then, Peter, for people that want to learn more about Ideal, all facets of the ecosystem, just again, shout out the website and so on. Where should people go? What should they do?
Yeah, so we're on ideal.com, so it's idea-l.com, and we have all our social media channels as well up and running. You can find us across the board on Telegram, Discord, and Instagram, a few other places as well.
Awesome. In that case, Peter, it is time to finish up the podcast, and we do that, of course, by running you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Are you up for it?
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. I'm just going to run some questions at you, Peter. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I just want you to give me your honest answers, hot take style, if you like. The first question for you is, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
Certainly maximalist. Yeah, I think there's a lot to come with Bitcoin over the next kind of few months. I think the end of 2025 is going to set some records. So yeah, we're in a pretty interesting place right now.
All right, I'm here for it. What would you say, though, Peter, is your firmest conviction, a crypto opinion?
Firmest conviction. crypto opinion. I think that Solana is the big thing to look out for. I think there's a lot to happen in that particular chain. I think that in the next kind of 2 to 3 years, there's going to be a significant development, and we're going to be putting a lot of our chips there. So I think that that's one name that kind of bubbles under when kind of Bitcoin and is raising its head and dominating headlines. But I would go Solana all the way, and that's where we're going to be.
Fantastic. All right. Bill Gates famously said to Peter that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. All founders will be familiar with that kind of thinking. But look, 10 years is a very long time. Anything you like here, Bitcoin, blockchain, Ethereum, Solana, ideal. What does it all look like in 10 years' time?
Wow, 10 years is a super long time. I mean, the thing is, Andy, everything's shrinking, right? So it's hard to predict. I think it used to be fairly straightforward to predict a 10-year time span. I think now it's almost impossible to actually say where things are going to be. I hate to say Elon's name on the podcast, but I think Elon's right with a lot of his predictions moving forward. So if you kind of look at a list of his sentiments the last couple of years towards kind of human population growth, travel, interplanetary travel, how we're going to transport ourselves around the world, I think a lot of those are actually pretty true, to be honest. So in 10 years, hopefully we're part of that entrepreneurial surge towards some pretty extreme human achievements.
I like it. All right. Another way of thinking about this, of course, is a wonderful quote by sci-fi author William Gibson, who famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Now, with that in mind, Peter, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
Wow. Okay. That's a thought provoker. Yeah, I think that the world of robotics is massively unevenly distributed. I think if you look towards Asia at the moment and some of the things that are happening in different silos in China, for example, kind of drones and robotics are getting to a level where they're becoming part of everyday life. There are farmers that are using drones for distribution, heavy lift drones for distribution, and you're not seeing that anywhere else in the world. There's nowhere else in the world I go where I can see drones farming autonomously. And I think that that's pretty futuristic, right? If you look back at movies over the last 50 years, drones were considered to be hundreds of years away, and now they're just there doing stuff. So you need to look at these videos; they're insane.
100%. Couldn't agree more. It brings us nicely, really, to the final question, Peter, which is very simply, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Science fiction. Look, I've got to be honest. I love Star Trek. I think it's a pretty cool show. I'm not particularly fond of the earlier versions, but the most recent versions with a load of CGI, it's pretty mind blowing. And I think it's because it's so expansive. There's so many different worlds that it explores, but it retains humanity throughout. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I like Star Trek.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about Star Trek is it's it's a good example of, I guess, what you'd call utopian science fiction in a sense, in that they should have sort of show the universe in potentially a positive light, and how people can get along. Of course, there are the enemies and the nemesis and the battles and so on, but yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we reached the end of the show. Peter, thank you so much for coming and spending some time with us today. This was a lot of fun. Just to close it out, again, please tell people where they can go to learn all about Ideal. Shout out all the social handles, anything you like. Please go for gold. Sure thing, yeah. So it's ideal.com, which is idea-l.com. And you'll find links to all the different social channels, but you can just search for idea-l on any of those and we should pop up. So you should be able to find us. Awesome. Thank you so much, Peter. All the best, and bye for now. Thanks, Andy. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.